introduced myself last time because I was so busy. I forget people don't know who I am. I hate to say that, and it sounds hubris, but I've been in the Cisco Academy for so long that I forget people don't know who I am. My name is Kelly Caldwell. I am the head of the Academy Sports Center and Instructor Training Center at Stanley Community College. I have been in the Cisco Academy for over 20 years, actually since 1999. I do apologize. If you ever meet me, you'll notice my hands don't work correctly and I kind of walk weird. So if I had to pause class for a minute during class, take care of some items, I may have to, but I have a spinal cord injury. I was paralyzed from the neck down in 2016. And when I was hit by a truck, I was a triathlete and hit by a truck and was paralyzed. But um, I've been with the Academy for a very long time. I do have CCNA and Cyber Ops Associate right now. I'm working to renew my CCNP because I did lose it when it switched over to the new version. So I have not passed the ENCORE test, and I apologize for that, but I'm working on it. I have been CCNP, CCNA Security. I am a VMware VCP, all of those. I also run our IT Academy, which is where we teach VMware, Palo Alto, Red Hat, AWS to continuing education students. So I wear a lot of hats at Stanley Community College, and I've been an instructor for a pretty good while at Stanley. I'm going to turn off my video because, again, I have low bandwidth here at the house, and I'm going to share my screen because I want to talk to you about the different parts of our course. Now, I'm going to go ahead and warn you, as a CCNP student, you're going to notice that this course is different than anything you've done before. It is not like your typical NetAcad course. It is, I call it the redheaded stepchild of the Academy world because you'll notice the Academy does not even have the curriculum inside of NetAcad. It has the book is what is used as your text. Now, thankfully, I can give you the book for free using OReilly, which is very nice. But just be aware of that. Now, I mentioned in an email, the first place you will start is at canvas.stanley.edu. You'll log in, and I need you to do this introductory forum first assignment. This assignment is very important because it basically allows me to track your attendance for our auditors. If you don't do this assignment within time of the auditor assignment, which it's a pretty good while, we got a couple weeks, I'll have to drop you from the class. But if you're going to get that done, we can knock that out. We don't have to worry about it. You then can use the directions in this particular text using a seat token to enroll in our NetAcad class. And I've got your seat tokens listed right here. So this is actually your seat tokens right here for everyone. And that will get you into netacad.com. Now, I do want to mention, here's our syllabus. I do want to talk a few minutes about the fact that if you need to have an appointment with me, we will schedule one and have a Zoom conference. So office hours are virtual. Anytime you need to meet with me, let me know and we'll figure something out. That is by appointment. The textbook is free online, and we are going to work through the CCNP ENCORE materials, and it is a huge amount of information. If you've looked at the book, looked at the ebook, or if you happen to own the book, you will know it is about 30 chapters of information. So it is not a small amount of information. We're also going to be working with the Cisco modeling labs inside of Netlabs as a lab environment. And we will have a true lab environment too that we'll use with real gear as soon as Netlabs gets that up and running. It should be, we have the equipment installed. We're waiting on the pod designs, and that should be available in the next couple of weeks. But I'm going to ask that we try to use CML because I think it's the future, to be quite honest. And we'll talk a little bit about that in a minute. I'm going to do a whole lot about it as we move forward. You will notice I'm not asking you to do every lab that we have. I'm asking you to do 25 labs of your choice. So you're going to pick out of these labs that we have here. You're only going to have to do 25 in order to pass this class. Now, if you only do 25, I don't expect you to pass the CCNP. You're really going to need to do all the labs if you want to pass the CCNP. But if you want to pass my class, then I'm only going to require 25. And I do that for a couple of reasons. One, I've actually kind of taken that from another one of my ITQ instructors, Dan Abergetti. I don't know if any of you have had a class with Dan. Um, but I know you all have full-time jobs, and I know that you may not be able to get all of them done during the class itself. So I'm trying to make it a little bit easier on you to finish the class and be able to get through it. We do have a final exam, and I asked you to make a 75 or higher on that, but you can retake it. And then there's a skills exam that we will have that's a final that will be done inside of Netlabs. So that's kind of what we're looking at there. Any questions on one of the questions I had in my last class is how do I upload these labs? Well, if you go into NetAcad, and if you've logged in and you have actually redeemed your seat token, you will have access to our Encore class. And you will see that inside of here, I have uploads for your labs. Now, this is using the old Canvas system. I decided to use actually made this class back in December, so we wouldn't have to use the new experience for this one. So this one has the old, it's called the old system, but it's the Canvas based. But you can upload your labs here when we complete them. So what question?
Can I ask you a question?
The final exam, well, real quick question. Andrew asked, is the final exam a lab only? No, there's actually two different final exams. There's a written final, and then there's a hands-on final. So there's one of each, just like the CCNA. So down here, we get down to the very bottom, you'll see there's a final exam, and then you will have an actual hands-on exam that we will do inside of the skills exam that's inside of Netlabs. Okay, and who had a question?
Hi, this is Ali. How are you today?
Good, how are you?
Thank you. Okay, this lab, where we can find these labs? Are they packet tracer file or they are through that news system that you mentioned?
No, what you have here is as you look when you look at the course content here, you know, if we click right here, what you will see is you can load the CCNP course. You would think when you look at this, you're like, oh, great, all the materials in here, right? All 30 chapters. But
exactly.
the negative is, yeah, when you click here, the only thing that's actually here is the lab. So here's your lab. So there's the lab document. And then there's a quiz. And then same thing for module 2, you'll notice here's the lab. And then here's the quiz. So the labs are all inside of here. So you can download these labs. And you can, and as I click here, you'll see here's the lab.
Okay. How I should complete this one? I should attach to your Netlab or what?
Okay, now that's where this is where I've got to explain to everybody. Once the Netlabs is up and running, you know, as far as right now, we've got a couple Netlabs. I have a Netlab system. I have you on competition, okay? We have a special thing called a Cisco Modeling Labs. I'm going to give you a YAML file, okay? And I've got to explain a lot more about this in the next week or so. We're not going to be able to have you fully understand it today, but basically, you're going to go in and you're going to do a reservation, and you're going to see your class will be this class here, CCNP Enterprise Core. You're going to go in and do the lab name as Cisco CML, and you're going to pick one of these pods. There's 5 pods available. We found with number of students we have, that's plenty. You're going to give yourself up to 4 hours. Okay. And then you'll enter the lab. Now it takes a little bit to boot. It takes about 5 minutes for it to boot. But this is booting a Cisco CML, which, by the way, if you don't know what CML is, Cisco Modeling Labs is a product that is the best part about it is it's actual Cisco iOS images. It's basically legal GNS3 is what it is. Everybody learns GNS3 and they don't even realize it's illegal because it's not legal to use the iOS images in that manner. But this allows you to actually use virtualized iOSs in a legal manner. Now, we've got a special thing going on because we've got a special pod that we can use. But basically, once you get in this workbench, you click here. And I mentioned in the email, you open up Firefox, and you will log into the CML controller. So in this case, I mentioned to you admin, and then the password is train, TRA1NG actually it's TRANG1. Yeah, I can't spell today, y'all. TRAIN1NG $. And that's all in the document that I sent you.
Okay, so all these labs are available through this CML system, and basically it's going to be running inside a virtual machine. As far as I see that, basically even your browser is running into virtual machine. Is it correct?
Correct. Correct.
Okay, good. Okay, thank you.
And I can't type for some reason today. TRA. There we go. Took me that long enough. But what you will actually do is you will import a lab. I'll have a YAML file for you. I've got one hidden here. Let me go ahead and bring this one in. I've got one hidden here. I'm going to go ahead and unhide it. I'm going to publish it. This is one that we won't use for a large amount of what we're doing, but I can actually go in here, and from Netlabs, I can go to netacad.com. We allow you to go there, and you'll log in with your username. And all of this I will explain to you in the future. This is not something I want you to be able to do today. I just want you to be aware that this will be the process. Get logged in here. And once we're logged in, I can download basically from inside of the class. For each one of the labs, I'll have you a YAML file. And you will download that YAML file. I'm going to download this one. It's a generic. This is the one that's been developed by some academies used for CCNP. I don't particularly like it because I think it's a little too thick. But that's just me. Then you'll just import this file from the downloads, and you'll notice that what happens is you now have a lab topology that's built for you, and then you will be able to do your lab using this topology. I'm building different topologies that are a little simpler than this so that it doesn't use so much resources. The other thing you'll be able to do once you learn, if you know what you're doing with Cisco Modeling Lab, you can actually come in here and create your own labs. So there's an iOS V, here's an iOS version 2. And so, you can play around and create your own labs if you're wanting to do so. And I'll teach you some of that as a process. But you can actually boot these devices. Now, one of the cool things is, as you play with Cisco Modeling Labs, you will notice that these particular nodes, as they're booting, we can actually go in and look at Open Console. You'll see this thing, it boots just like a regular Cisco switch. I mean, it's no different. It's actually the switch iOS. It's just a virtualized iOS. So we're going to be using this, and we will be using real gear in our other Netlabs system. I'll have that up within the next 2 weeks for us to use. So for some of these first labs, we'll use CML. And then if that seems to be an insurmountable item, then we can use this. But you'll see here, I mean, this is a fully functional iOS version. It is iOS, but it is iOS, and this is the switch version. Oops. So pretty neat thing. So we can take the lab and we can build it. So it's not going to be quite as clean as your other classes you've had before. It is going to be a little bit more work on your part to do labs, but we will definitely be able to do it because we'll be able to pull these YAML files in that I can give you for each one of the labs themselves. So.
Okay, so basically those YAML file are a startup configuration file. We download that, upload it to that CML system, and then start working and complete the lab.
That is correct. Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. Yep. Thank you.
And one of the things that really, the thing you'll have to pay close attention to, and the thing that's probably going to give you the most problems is this. You'll notice the labs are set up here. When I do a YAML file, my YAML file for this particular lab, you'll notice is going to have 2 routers and 2 switches. Okay. Well, I don't have gig 001. So when I go in here and I create your YAML file, what you'll need to be able to do is you'll need to be able to click on this link right here and see what's actually connected between these 2. And so that's where you'll have to pay attention to the lab itself, where you'll be able to have to say, okay, I understand it's not going to match exactly. And when I give you the YAML file, I will give you the layout of what that is so that you won't have to, you'll be able to look at it and say, okay, I know. But if the lab asks you to do gig 001 and it's only gig 00, you're going to have to make that, you're going to have to be able to make that change in the lab. Okay. I'm not rewriting the labs themselves so that it matches the YAML file.
Okay.
So that comes down. That's one of the reasons why it's going to be a little bit more difficult for you. You know, it may not be gig 001. It may be gig 01 or gig instead of gig 001.
Okay, we have to go with the instruction in YAML file rather than whatever we see on this basically instruction file.
Correct. That is correct.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Okay.
Yep. And so, and we'll get that to you as we move along. So now I do want to show you real quick before we go any further. I want to show you, and this was in the email I sent you. Every one of you does have a Stanley email address. If you don't know what it is, I can show that to you here shortly. But inside of that, what I sent you was a video showing you how to go to stanley.edu, go to the library, and then you would go to resources, databases. And again, this is all in the video I sent you. And then under O'Reilly database. Now I'm going to sign out. I'm already logged in because I logged in earlier from my other class, but I'm going to actually sign out here. And typically this is what happens. If you go to O'Reilly Media Database and you're not signed in, it'll tell you to select your institution. Well, we're too small to be listed here under these institutions. So you'll go not listed here and you'll put in your academic email. So I'll put in my email, click let's go. At this point, you now are going to have access to the O'Reilly database. If you look under your user account, you should be able to look at playlists. And you should be able to see the CCNP ENCORE playlist. And you'll notice underneath here is the book. So this is the book for our class. So when I tell you to read chapters 1 through 5, I'm wanting you to read chapters 1 through 5 in this particular book.
Okay.
All right. Now, the great news is you don't have to buy this book. It's here. It's available for you inside of this O'Reilly database. If you want to buy it, great. If you don't, it's here available for you to use. Okay. The other great thing is, as part of this same playlist, we do have the 31 days before your CCNP ENCORE exam, and we do have the entire video course. So I've actually been going through the video course myself, looking at I'm at the DTP section. So here's the whole section on DTP.
And show interfaces switchboard.
So all of this is available.
Administrative mode.
So we're going to have this available
This
to you.
switchboard is configured for dynamic auto.
This database, folks, I paid over $600 a year just for my own personal access. I used to do that. I used to pay over $50 a month for access to this database. When the school got a chance to make a campus-wide access to this database, we jumped at it. I said, you know, it was not cheap, but I said, this is something we need to do for our students. So you have access to this while you are here. The other thing I want you to be aware of is as long as you have a Stanley email address and it's a valid email address, then you will be able to use this particular system. If you decide you want to study for something else, let's say you want to learn Python, you can go in here and you can look at the Python resources and you could work on that. If you want to work on, I don't know, somebody give me something. Let's say CISSP, that's in here. There's large amounts of CISSP stuff in here. CYSA plus, which is something that CYSA plus, CYSA plus, right there. You can see there's a entire live lessons. So this is available and you have access to it as long as you're a student at Stanley Community College. And then for basically your email address will stay active 6 months past the time you were a student. So you have access to this information. So, but your book is right here. It's not inside of NetAcad. It's inside of the O'Reilly database. Questions about that?
Okay. For how long we have access? Just till May, or after that one also we have access?
You typically have access for 6 months past the end of your class.
Okay. Okay.
That way you can continue to study for your exam.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. So like I said,
regarding that content which is not inside the course, this is basically the new approach, or this is just for this particular course is designed that way, that the content is not on Cisco Academy course website?
This is only for the CCNP courses. This is, unfortunately, they did not decide to build out the courses for CCNP ENCORE or ENSI. And so this is how the CCNP courses are built out. It is not ideal, but it is how Cisco has handled the CCNP for some time now. So this is not really new. This has been the format for all CCNP courses for probably the last 7 years.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So again, the labs are built. And if you have real gear at home and you want to build these labs and make the actual interfaces match exactly, that's fine. You can do that, and you're welcome to do that if you have gear at home. But we will have the CML available for you to use.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. If we have the actual equipment, like I have some of the equipment here at my school, can we go ahead and do like module 1 and 2 labs?
Yes, most definitely.
Okay.
If you want to take this and you would rather, say you can bring the gear home, or you've got the gear in your lab and you want to do it, that is no problem. You are more than welcome to do that. The only thing I'll ask is when you upload your labs, if there's anywhere where they're talking about, some of these labs, well, anytime there's an upload, you'll have to upload something. But just upload the lab and say, I did it on my local equipment. And Tolu, the question was, will ENSR be available later in the year? Probably, Tolu. I haven't made a decision yet. If I have enough people move forward, the answer is yes. If I do not have enough people move forward, the answer would be no. I would have to have at least 10 people to be able to move forward. Andrew, I cannot say legally that yes, you can do that, but if you would want to do that, then the answer is yes. Be aware that's not technically legal, just because of that product. It is using iOS images in a non-legal fashion. But I know a lot of people use it too. So, but we're going to try to use CML. We're going to try to make it work. Okay, well then, yeah, that's still, I know, but it's still a real, that's a tough question. If you read the thing, if you read the iOS images, now it is. If you read the EULA, it's a little weird, but they're skirting the edges there. But yeah, you can do that too. That's fine. That's fine. You're still probably going to run into the same problems with. I'd actually be interested, Andrew, in talking to you about that and looking at the differences, because I don't believe you could still do. For instance, you don't support in CML. There's no support for serial interfaces. So just like here, when we go to do the lab here and I go to do the connection, there's no serial interfaces between these two routers, because serial interfaces don't exist inside of CML. And I think that's true in the NG also, if I'm not mistaken. Yep, Mike, the question is, what are we uploading for our assignments? It would just be the completed Word documents, if there's any information in there. And if you download it, it's a PDF. Remember, you can open PDFs inside of Word and then save them as Word documents and then just upload them into here under the modules. You would have the uploads for each one of the labs. Oh, it does support serial. Okay, that's something we may want to look at. I may look at that, then you and I may have to have a conversation. We may try to do a pod that uses that, because I haven't played with that much. So, all right.
What was that, Kelly? What supports serial?
It's EVNG. EVENG.
I have it here. I have CML, but I've loaded the IS into EVNG. But as far as I know, it's just like what you see here. It's just so if it can support serial, I'd like to know how.
Yeah, I didn't think you could do it either, but we'll look at it. We're looking at different options. So we could definitely take a look and see what we could find. If it does support serial, I'd be very interested, because I didn't think it did. I didn't know of any virtualized iOS version that could support serial. But I'll tell you too, folks, we will have real gear inside of Netlabs. My netlabs.stanley.edu, I've got the gear already racked. I've got 3 routers and 3 switches sitting in the rack, waiting on the CCNP pod design to be released. And it should be released in the next 2 weeks or so. So I'm going to have you a real rack of gear to use before this class is over. So CML is kind of a project that I would like help with, that we can play with. If anybody wants to build some YAML files for some of the labs, I'm more than willing to let you do that because I could use the help. But we will we'll go from there in terms of what we can do. I've been impressed. I will say this. I've been impressed with CML. I've been impressed with the speed that you can get out of it. I've been impressed with, you know, what you can do. I'm not very impressed with the 1000V image. I don't use that image very much. I use the IOSV image. And I haven't played with some of these others, but the fact that you can actually drag a little desktop out here, and that desktop is, you know, a little Alpine image that you can get into, and you can even, as you go in here and, you know, connect E0 to gig 03 or whatever you want to do, you can boot this thing and you can get into it and connect to it with VNC. It's got some neat features. It's got some pretty neat little features that can be used. So, but if you've got a system, like I said, Keisha, if you've got real gear at your environment, please use the real gear, because you also need to do what you need to do for yourself in this class is you need to determine how you're going to be teaching it. If you're going to be teaching it in the classroom, you need to be doing your labs in the classroom using the gear that you're going to be using. If you're going to be doing it online in some fashion, then you're going to need to figure out how you're going to do that. And then we need to decide, you know, that how you're going to do it and what you're going to use to do it with. But this is, like I said, this is pretty cool here. This is actually a little Linux box here. Cisco's a password on almost everything inside of here. Okay. Yeah, we'll definitely figure out a way to help. It's not that hard to build. In fact, like I said, if we build this here, we can just export this. We actually download the lab as a YAML file, and this lab becomes a YAML file. So once we kind of figure out what we need, we can do some pretty cool things. But check it out. This is we've got a true little Linux box hanging off this system here, and we can do all kind of configurations, and then we can go into here. And this router is just a true router. I mean, there's nothing crazy about it, unless you can't type, which I'm not being able to type today. Do show IP brief. God, I cannot type. Good gosh. Do show IP. Let me slow down. Int brief. You can see here how you got the different gig interfaces that are connected. If I click right here, it tells me which ones are connected. So this is gig 00. So I go back to this guy over here and I go to int gi00. Oops. Don't want to do that. I hit something different. 00. IP add 192.168.12.1 255.255.255.0. No shut. Take my 0 and do a no shut, and then we can do a do IP brief. Now you'll see the interface is up, and then I can just assign an IP address to the PC, and I'll be able to ping my default gateway. So, I mean, it's a neat little system. It really is. So we'll work with this, and something we'll have for the class. I will get you some YAML files. Don't try. I mean, you're welcome to do labs on your own personal gear at home. I'm not expecting you to do any CML labs between now and next week. I'm expecting you to read, and by next week, I'll get you the YAML files for the first couple labs for you to be able to use. Okay. So any questions? By the way, you'll notice there are chapter exams. So once we get through chapters 1 through 5, you'll have an exams. You'll also notice that I have due dates. Now be aware, this due date of February 14th, all due dates are suggestions. I know you are instructors and I know you have a full-time job. If I don't give you any due dates, if you're like me, you simply won't do it because you're too busy.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I give you a due date, but if you miss a due date, don't worry about it. I'm not going to take off points. I'm not going to penalize you for missing a due date. It's just, this is where I feel like you kind of need to be in order to get through the course by the time the class ends in May. I'll also be able
Get the structure.
Exactly. Yeah. Just to give you, kind of prod you a little bit so that you'll know what you need to do. But if you miss a due date, don't freak out. No big deal. Just continue to work and move forward. Also remember, I'm not asking you to do every single lab. I think you need to do every single lab to pass the CCNP, but I'm not asking you to do it in order to be able to pass this course. I want you to be able to feel comfortable to teach this to your students. And then I want you to be able to know how everything works in the class. It is a different class. This is a different beast than any Cisco class you've taken before because the content is not laid out in the HTML format. You have to use the book or use the, again, the ebook. Don't forget, if you do want to get the book, you could possibly ask for a free copy from your local Cisco Press person, but you don't have to. You've got it right here, and it's available for you to use inside of our OReilly database. Will you have access? Yes, I will move you, Tolu. You will definitely have access to the CML class and to both. I can leave access open, and I typically leave access open in the labs for at least a couple months after class is over. So yes, you will have access to it afterwards, so you can prepare.
Quick question on the labs. When you're uploading your, well, what is it that you're expecting to be uploaded as the working of the lab? The config files, or is it that you can save the labs themselves, like in Packet Tracer?
Well, on the labs themselves, honestly, what I would say to do is, yes, it would be nice to have you do like a show run and just put that into your document here. So let's say that you were doing this first lab, inter VLAN routing. You're going to download it to your desktop, right? So you would have it. I would say go ahead and open it in Word. Okay. Now, even though it's a PDF, remember you can just take a Word. You can just take with the PDF, you can just take it and drag it into Word, and it will open up. So you can actually just open. I can go in here and I can open a PDF. So let's do all files. So let's implement. So if I open it in here, it will just convert it to a Word document. And most Word, it can handle almost all PDFs. Okay. So you'll do your lab. You'll be going through here, doing everything. And then just when you're done at the end, just do a show run on each one of the devices and drop it into this and then upload it to Netacad into that upload that I've given you.
Okay, thank you. Yes.
Okay. Let's see. Keisha, unfortunately, there is not a discount voucher for CCNP.
Okay.
That is one of the negatives of this course too. I wish there was, but they've stopped that years ago.
Okay. I was gonna take it anyway. I just know like they sent me one last year for CCNA, so I was able to take the new CCNA. So I was just wondering, but it's no biggie. I hope
you know, and it may be that they would implement something like that down the road, but unfortunately, right now that's not a given thing for the CCNP classes.
Okay.
I wish it was. It used to be years and years ago, but that, you know, we also used to have the curriculum inside of the actual Netacad site, but we don't have that anymore either. So unfortunately. But folks, my goal is for all of us to work through this, for you to be comfortable with the CCNP topics, for you to go past your CCNP ENCORE, and for us to figure out a way for you to teach this to your students. Now, again, be that with CML, be that with Netlabs, be that with local gear, be that with NVNG, okay, ENVNG, whatever it takes for you to be able to teach this to your students is what's important, because these skills, it used to be that a lot of these skills, and they still are, but a lot of these skills used to be in the CCNA, quite honestly. your spanning tree, some of the ether channel stuff, even the BGP stuff. Some of it was used to be in the CCNA and has now all been moved to the ENCORE and ENSI. So if we have a good experience here, and no, I don't mind if you create study groups at all, create all the groups you want. I would ask that you invite me so that if I could be part of it would be a good thing too, but definitely create study groups. Anything that you can do, most definitely. But we want to get everybody certified and get everybody moving forward. And if I have enough people move forward to do the next course, I will try my best to offer the next course. It's just one of those things where enrollment, I can fill a 25-person cyber ops course pretty easily. I have to be able to convince my higher ups that it's worth adding a course to be able to teach it. So. Yep, the idea is we need to log into Canvas first. That is correct. You need to log into Canvas first, Ken. That's the first thing that's very important. If you're having issues, use the welcome document I gave you. And you also may need to contact our tech support. So if you need that, you can go to stanley.edu. I always keep doing that. Stanley.edu. Go to tech support. And then you can actually do a chat with them or do SCC. You also can try to do the SCC password reset. So what we got? Questions? No response. Okay. The calls? Well, yes, the calls, Andrew, will be weekly, and I will get you out a listing of all the calls. I will do that probably tomorrow. I'll send out the links to them. Plus, everything I'm doing here, I'm recording, and we will. I'll send that out to everybody so you can review it if you happen to have not been here. Give me 1 second. I'm going to do something so that I can give you your Stanley email address. So you'll know what your Stanley email address is in case you don't know. So this is CCNA Cyber Ops down here. So I need to get rid of that one. And let's get this one up here. So give me just a second. Get rid of the personal email, so we're not sharing everybody's personal email address or your seat token. All right, so if you don't know your Stanley email address, I'll go ahead and do this real quick. You can see it. Here's your Stanley email address that's available for you. So that'll give you what your email address is. And then you can use that to help reset your password if you have to. Or if, yeah, Stanley's tech support, I believe, closes at 5 during the weekday on weekdays, but it'll be available again in the morning. So it's not, if you don't get your assignment done today, that's fine, the intro assignment. But if you have issues, let me know. I can send you your student ID. I do have that. So if you need your student ID, just email me and I will email your student ID. I didn't want to show that on this. I've got that in the spreadsheet, but I did not want to show that to everybody in the world. And also I'm recording this, so I didn't want to show that to everybody in the world. But this is your Stanley email address, which would be used for your access to the O'Reilly database. Okay. So just a quick review. We will use canvas.stanley.edu to do your initial assignment, to get your syllabus. And if you want to use it to jump to these other sites, you can. Once you've done the initial assignment, honestly, I'll probably only ask you to go back to canvas.stanley.edu once or twice the entire semester because it's not that important. The important issue is to get to netacad.com so that you have access to the lab uploads and to see our schedule for reading the chapters. And then to competitions.stanley.edu, which is where we will have our CML labs. And I will get you a lot more information on the CML labs. Today was just an introduction, so don't feel like you need to know how to use CML right now. I'm doing videos. I'll have those videos out to you to show you how to log in, show you how to get the YAML files, and you'll be able to do all those things. Okay, Jorge, you have a question? Go ahead.
Yes. Are we gonna meet all Thursdays?
Yes.
At this time?
Yes. My plan is to meet every Thursday at 4, if that will work for everybody. seems like a pretty good time because we got 14 people in here right now. So that's my plan.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. All right, that'll work. It seems like that's going to work pretty good for everybody. So just be aware, I am doing my CyberOps class right before this. So if I'm a few minutes late, I'll try to be there at 4 every time, but I'll try my best to get in by 4.
I also have another question.
Great.
I took the class with Dan Alberghetti on 2019, I think, and he recorded this class and put it available in the resource part of the NetACAD resources part. I don't know. You are gonna send us a link with the recording of this Zoom class, or you are gonna put it available in that part of the NetACAD site, or how are you?
What class did you take with Dan?
The CyberOps.
Sorry, I will be like this recording. I will put it on my YouTube channel, and I will send you a link to the YouTube video.
Okay, that's
So you will have access to every class. If you miss one of our class meetings, I record every one of them, and then they will be uploaded to YouTube and will be available to you. Again, it usually takes me an hour, couple hours after class ends because of my slow internet at home to upload these videos. But usually by 6 or 7 the night of the class meeting, I will have it available for you on my YouTube channel.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. You're welcome. Okay. Any other questions? I'm gonna probably call it a day with that. Okay. Yep. That's about what's
basically so for uploading document, just we're gonna upload a Word document that at the bottom it's gonna have all the configuration file for devices.
Correct. That is correct.
Thank you.
Yep, that is correct. Thank you. Any other questions? And folks, we will, like I said, we're going to be working together. This is a different class for all of us. This is the first time I've taught in ENCORE, and it's also the probably the first time you've been in a CCN Cisco NetACAD class that's like this, where it uses a book as its main curriculum. So it will be a little different for us all. Just be aware that you do need to be reading in that book, and I've got that laid out. So when I say read chapters 1 through 5, it's very important you do read those chapters. Because that's the content for you to be able to know how to do the labs. The first 5 chapters or so, especially for any of you who've been in the CCNA program for a while, the first 5 chapters are going to be a lot of review for you because we've dealt with DTP, we've dealt with STP, we've dealt with inter-VLAN routing, those types of things. So I don't think the first 5 chapters will be anything that will stretch your ability or your knowledge. Once we start getting into multi-area BGP, that's when things get a little bit tricky. When we start looking at external and internal BGP and how those items work. So just be aware, if you're going through the first 5 chapters and going, I know all this, it's probably going to get a little tougher as we move forward in the class. So thank you everyone for being here. Excellent to have 14 people out of the class in this particular meeting. I look forward to working with everyone. And if you have any questions for me, please send them to me via email, and I'll do my best to respond as quickly as I possibly can. Okay, I'm going to stop the recording.